Hey everybody, welcome back to You Are Free TV. It is Friday, the 13th of March, 2026. Here we are on this day. It's a very interesting Friday the 13th here. So glad to be back with you here on You Are Free TV. I will jump right in with my disclaimer. This video is for entertainment purposes only. It is protected by the United States Constitution protecting free speech, as well as the Sullivan Act and reporting. It is not intended to bully or harass anyone, never to incite violence, hatred, or lawlessness of any kind. It doesn't give legal, medical, or financial advice, and there are further disclaimers in the description below. So thanks so much for being with me, and I want to say thank you so much for supporting monthly, keeping the channel going. Thank you to Judith for the donation, joining monthly. I'm so appreciative. And we're just going to jump right in here to the news because it keeps going on. Of course, people are still hair on fire everywhere about what's going on with the war in Iran and with the U.S. versus Iran, which is really the U.S. versus the city of London and the bankster elite behind it, and the IRGC doing their bidding and continuing on now from this stage. And so we saw a lot of developments today, and I want to talk about them. This will probably be kind of a shorty. I want to talk about that and also some kind of spiritual markers that we're at here, kind of at humanity, but in the world as globalism is losing its footing. Most importantly, now that we live in this information digital grid, that they're losing the narrative in the hearts and minds of the people they hope to control. So it's all part of it. It's all very important. So let's jump in here with what's been going on. So we saw today, this morning, we had, of course, Pete Hegseth, Secretary of War, and General Kane, the head of the Joint Chief of Staff, had come out and talk about the updates on the war, what's going on. We know there's at least 13 dead. Iran is claiming that they are responsible for the downing of the plane in Iraq, where 6 more U.S. Soldiers were killed in that refueling plane. Very awful, very sad, and our prayers go out to them and their families. All of life loss here is awful, and we pray for them. But the hair on fire part that I'm really trying to address here is that people keep saying Trump doesn't know what he's doing. Hegseth is full of crap. Oh, he's just talking out of his bum. Basically, Hegseth came out and said, in an answer to a question, why haven't you already secured the Straits of Hormuz before all this happened, in order to ensure this, the ongoing, no disruption of the ships and tankers through the Straits of Hormuz, etc. And what Hegseth said is that perhaps we're doing this in the timing and in the rotation of what we're trying to accomplish. And so I'm going to get into some things that touch on that here, and also what came after their report. And people are also criticizing, saying, why didn't they announce this before at 8 a.m. this morning, during their announcement about the war, during their update? Well, let's talk. So last night we had this meetup of Secretary Wright, Secretary of Energy, and of course Burgum. They had a Japanese summit. Okay, they had an energy summit with the Japanese, and this is very interesting because this is about the U.S. and the Japanese teaming up here on this energy alliance. And it looks kind of, how would they do that? It's very interesting. And so let's kind of dig into that here. I want to talk about what happened across this year when we saw, of course, the yen in Japan. It finally, it had been used as basically a giant money laundering operation for years and years, right? Where they'd been in these lost decades of, not being able to get back in Japan and their economy. And you have this new prime minister come in, very close with Trump. And what happens is, oh my gosh, inflation in Japan, where suddenly they raise the interest rates on their currency. And so what had been happening was the billionaire oligarchs, BlackRock, Vanguard, etc., was using the yen to basically trade at zero. They would just borrow in yen and have no interest, to go and then basically make tons and tons of billions of dollars using that currency assault us all with their globalist agenda, with the SDGs and all of it, and continuously just buy up everything, buy up corporations, property, etc. And then what happened is the new prime minister came in, raised up the rates, and they suddenly lost a lot of money. So there's that, and that's important to understand here. And so we see our energy secretaries getting together and saying, hey, let's go in alliance around energy. And they're yes, on board. And of course, they're very invested in our steel, in our other metals industries in the United States. And then we see that what is announced, basically then I'll put on the glasses, then what is announced today is we hear that, oh, okay, now we're going to have 5,000 Marines and the amphibious group, okay, out of Japan coming to the Straits of Hormuz. And they're coming with seven other, war vessels to come in and to basically defend the Straits of Hormuz. Okay, this is very interesting. Everybody is very, very worried about a ground war. I'm not going to say that I know the intricacies of this, but I will say some messaging that is very, very happening here. And again, why this gets into that this is a war of America against the City of London and the control over maritime shipping, over energy across the planet, and of course using the Middle East for centuries really as its proxy in control. And this gets way back to Jefferson. Okay, this gets back to the first war that the U.S. ever had after the Revolutionary War. And this was, of course, the Barbary War. And Thomas Jefferson, what did he do? He created the Marines, and it was the establishment of the Navy going into outside of the U.S. war. And this happened in Tripoli. And what is the naval ship that's coming to the Middle East now? That is the USS Tripoli, okay, and the amphibious Marines. And basically what this war was in the Barbary War was the U.S. going against the attacks on U.S. merchant ships that wanted to trade from America. The new nation of America just won the Revolutionary War, to basically stop the Muslim attacks on our ships. And what did Britain do at that time? It didn't overtly condone the Muslim regimes at that time. It basically said, we're going to keep paying you, we're going to keep paying our tribute to you, which in the money laundering schemes, it was large amounts of money to fight and to have the Muslim attacks on the U.S. merchant ships, on the American ships. And so this is all very, very much signaling. And what is part of this is Trump recently, of course, he just had put on the White House grounds three new statues. Okay, we have statues of George Washington. Okay, we have Thomas Jefferson, who created the Marines. And we have, of course, Abraham Lincoln. We have the American Revolution that he is trying to complete. We have Thomas Jefferson creating and expanding the warrior class, the warrior infrastructure of this country to go against the infrastructure that was already at that time being Britain protected and funded in the Middle East, and to do with, of course, Tripoli and Libya. And of course, who destroyed Libya? That was our one HRC. With we came, we saw, he died of the massive evil, destruction of Gaddafi, and what was, of course, then him warning that if you destroy me, and of course he didn't have, he wasn't part of the federal banks, was trying to create deep water aquifers for unlimited water for his people, doing all kinds of great things. And he said, if you kill me, the hordes of sub-Saharan Africa are going to rush into your Western nations, which is what they wanted. And so this is all both symbolic, but absolutely the continuation of history of what's going on here in the USS Tripoli, coming out here, this teaming up of the US with Japan. And also, let's remember, Trump is meeting with Xi on April 21st, they're having an in-person meeting. And I would imagine that the plan is that this Iran war situation will be over by then. And of course, the continuing guidance of Chinese vessels allowed through the Straits of Hormuz, to us, it all seems crazy. And to so many people across the world, it seems crazy because they're not understanding the bigger picture of sovereign nations being the allies that Trump is choosing and that the war tactics here are involved with. And it's all very squirrely. It's not, there's no guarantees, but there is a lot more going on than people understand. But the signaling, I believe, is there. And so, and the third statue was Abraham Lincoln, of course, and that was, what was it? The unification of the country, right? And the freeing of the slaves. And what did we have? Of course, out of Tripoli was the massive amounts of the slave trade going on there, and of course everything that came after. So it is a huge issue here. Britain, of course, being the massive funders of the slave trade, everything to do, of course, especially with the southeast of the United States. We have Ursula von der Leyen. Her family, her mother's side, owned the largest plantation of slavers in South Carolina. Back on her mother's side, her father's side, and she is, of course, the commissioner of the EU. And she, on her father's side, Nazi who made the uniforms for the SS, huge, using the slave labor out of the German Nazi camps to create the uniforms, plus, and et cetera, et cetera. And so what we're seeing here in the EU and all of this, we're seeing Italy and Spain kind of breaking from the EU and doing these independent negotiating with Iran for getting their ships through the Straits of Hormuz. All kinds of chaos is breaking out where there is no kind of central hold, where it's kind of every man for himself. And I believe this is part of the point, but it's definitely a part of the spiritual point and the God point. But I believe it's part of the whole thing here. As the defeating of Cartel Babylon, as the masses are seeing that there is a huge awakening to understand the massive Satanism that controls these people, the economy of sin that is used. We get to the summit of the Americas here with the defense against 17 countries going against the cartels and their creation of the black book money that funds the city of London and funds people like who is, I guess, the guy in the coma, right? This is Khamenei Jr., who's in a coma, was dead, now in a coma, who basically is saying we're going to keep this war going forever in Iran, and basically to destroy the economy of the U.S. and the West through this oil embargo war. So we'll see what goes down there. But when we see that there is a plan that Trump and Hegseth is saying we're doing this in this succession for a reason, that there is a reason. And I believe this USS Tripoli is a signal into that. And so let's look a little bit more into this. As we see, oh, yep. Okay, hold on. Yeah, so as we see that all these announcements are being made, we are seeing that we're seeing a lot of things here. So let me just gather myself for a second. I believe that we're seeing humanity kind of understanding that there is a much larger thing going on here, where seemingly chaos is basically bringing humans to understand that there's nobody to rely on. Okay, you can't rely on your globalist government. You can't rely on this protection. You can't rely on the EU. It's breaking apart. The center can't hold there. Ursula von der Leyen's power is diminished by, I'd say a good 80%. And also the Muslim infiltration that Gaddafi warned about is breaking apart the nations to the extent that you're seeing massive populist uprisings, and of course the all across the southern hemisphere of the West, populist presidents, Costa Rica, everywhere. What's coming in is a fight back against this globalist regime. And so it's very, very exciting and very, very important to understand. So we're at this Rubicon, I would say, and we have to see what's going to happen. We know that there is very strange things happening here. We know there's these, supposed lone wolf attacks here in the U.S. The sleeper cells of Iran haven't seemed to materialize in any large way, except out of the FBI saying there's going to be drone attacks on LA and whatever. There was a gunman at a school in LA today. It's all these lone gunmen that are coming up. And in my guesstimation, this is more like a intelligence run operation, whether it's CIA, Mossad, MI6, the intelligence of the IRGC, whatever it is. These lone gunmen coming up and doing this mayhem is awful. However, it's to be expected as of yet, even though we know there is quite the possibility that Iran could be able to launch a huge EMP over the United States with their satellite capability. None of that materializing yet. It's still early, but we're seeing that there is this market situation of all these warnings, all these threats, all this hair on fire, right? And the subjugation of the Iranian people by the IRGC, who are the elite oligarchs of Iran, the coma Ayatollah, who doesn't appear, no voice, nothing, not really there. The IRGC is obviously running Iran, and who's running it all is the question. And to me, that gets into the Pilgrim Society, the City of London, and what is the global oligarch regime and the fight to destroy America, and their wish and hope that they're going to be able to destroy our economic renewal and recovery through, of course, this energy control, okay, and hiking up our oil prices and all of this. And so as we look at all of this, we're going to continue to watch it. But I wanted to basically, get people to realize that one thing that Trump is doing, whether it is the Summit of the Americas on the assaults on the cartels all throughout South America, and what's going on with Iran, this is about going after all of the countries that the CIA, Mossad, MI6, the intelligence apparatus out of the City of London, that is funding through the economy of sin, trafficking, drugs, death and mayhem, evil, all of that energy that they give to Satan in order to empower themselves and create so much evil that it destroys our consciousness, that it takes away our hope, that those are all the countries that Trump is going after, okay? That is who he's going after. And people need to remember and understand that this is what is happening. It is American Revolution 2.0, finish off the bankster City of London elites, the Pilgrim Society, the council control over America. It's why our own Congress, in their feckless awfulness, supposedly Thune, now next Thursday, we're going to get a vote for the Save America Act, 202-224-3121 for your senator, 202-224-2321 for Thune. That's going to be happening next Thursday. They're drawing it out because neither our Congress or the Senate wants to have real elections in this country, and they're all guilty of the good they do not do. So, as this is all happening simultaneously, okay, this reorientation of the U.S. With South American countries and Central American countries, the expedition in Ecuador after the cartels, to use military might to go after, stop the cartels and their evil and the killing and the trafficking and the disgusting and the Satanism, and also stop the money that all flows back to the City of London, like with the Ayatollah Jr., who is in a coma, but apparently has a huge, massive global real estate empire, okay, that's run out of the City of London through their their shell companies in St. Kitts. Okay, so this is the same as any oligarch, whether it's Kolomoisky, who funded Zelensky in Ukraine, Pinchuk funding the Atlantic Council, whoever these people are, these are all the same people. Okay, whether it's the IRGC, whether it is the oligarchs that have that are dual citizens of Israel and Ukraine or Russia or wherever the heck. This is the same group of people. Okay, and it gets into, of course, the Rothschilds, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We know the royals, Netherlands, England, all of them. Okay. And so this is who we're dealing with, and this is who Trump is trying to defeat and defy, and using very, very great tactics through connecting all around them, in spite of them, okay, with people whom they have subjugated in order to overthrow them, and the U.S. having finally, America getting its freedom, and also aligning with other sovereign nations. And Russia is part of that, and China is part of that with Xi. And no fan of the Chinese Communist Party, and of course, not at all whatsoever. However, there is this situation where we're looking at what was supposed to happen was that the Chinese Communist Party was supposed to go under the control of the global bankster elite run out of Europe. And Europe is just losing its mind and its control. And that is the point, that we can't move forward in this country. And what people need to understand, and oh, Trump, he's betrayed us. He's supposed to be America first. And he is America first. There is no America without taking down the global elites. And as each day passes, people need to understand we're 1 year in, okay, 1 year and a couple months, that there is no saving the economy until we stop these people from debilitating and stealing and trying to destroy our country. And of course, that always gets into you being locally involved to stop it in your own communities with the globalists and the Islamists and whoever and etc., all the banksters that are involved in your local government. And so that's what I wanted to really bring to you today. It might not be a very long video at all. We need to understand that I think the Oscars are this Sunday, right? Hollywood is dead. It's a good example here that Hollywood, the evil that's been Hollywood and the social engineering of it is like the globe right now, is like the global stage. It is caught like a deer in the headlights. It doesn't know which way to go because it can't win. It can't make money. There's no. It's like caught in this vice of we want to propagandize. We want to control the narrative. We've got the CIA up our bums. We used to make so much money, but now nobody cares. Nobody wants to see our propaganda movies. China, can fund us by the hundreds of millions, but it's nobody wants to see them and aren't seeing them. So they're dead in the water, which is why at the Oscars or, at all the award shows or whatever, you see Sinners, right, as the top movie. And what is this? This is, black vampires, right? And this is all about sin and all about we're supposed to, they keep trying to make us be, we're supposed to identify it and have suicidal empathy with the vampires, the people who want to act like victims and then suck us dry and then kill us in our sleep. You can't have a vampire enter your home if you don't invite them in. It's a rule, it's a spiritual law. And it's the same thing with our lives. You can't have these things overtake you if you don't invite it in. That gets into how you spend your money, what you watch on TV or the streaming or whatever. It gets into who you invite into your life, what you're willing to let into your consciousness, where your attention goes, and where your attention goes, your energy flows, and it's what grows in your life. And so it's up to us to get the bigger picture. And really, that's through education. Educate yourself on civics spend some time learning about the founding fathers, about our history, the Barbary War, right? And Jefferson, basically having, creating the Marines, and basically saying we're going to stop the Muslim pirates from taking over our ships. They're doing it for England, even though no credibility. You can't really prove that. Of course it was, right? And of course, the massive involvement of the bankster elite in the slave trade, and we can get to certain people, involved there. I won't get into it now, but you might get my drift. So this is the situation. The technocracy, CERN, the quantum, all of this technology is so super involved here because it's behind the scenes. It's continuing to go, and they want to push the CBDC. They were really ready for this, global control of everybody through this digital surveillance money situation. And right now, it's all on hold. Right now, it's not on hold in their development of it. It's on hold in its rollout because the people all around are not believing anybody. They know that they're eating the babies. They know that there's this massive satanic elite. They don't know what to trust. We know it's God. We know what it means to trust God. We know what it feels to have Jesus in your heart and what it means for the golden rule. It's so simple. It's so easy, and you have to spend time aligning yourself with it. And then God gives you really great, great plans for your days, your future, how you're going to move forward. And so I am continuing here to really trust what is happening and to understand. I wish that Trump would come out and say, hey, we're fighting the city of London, the bankster elite here. Yeah, that's not going to happen. It takes a lot more thinking and education. And what it also takes is our taking responsibility in our own lives to fix the things that we have going wrong, okay, in order to make ourselves more available to God, but also do better in our lives and communities to bring it more simple, more back. The medium is the message. If you are using digital all the time and that's where your attention is going, watching videos all the time, and everything you think is just coming off a video, and here I am on a video, the medium is the message. Your people, okay, are the best time you can spend. The people around you, the people in your community, the action you take to save your community and to work for your community, to work for your family, to help your family, to be emotional support to people. That's the medium, the human to human. Okay, the digital is the more you pay attention to that, the larger that grows, and it actually takes over your consciousness like a parasite. And so I'm kind of rattling on, and I did say I would keep it short today because that's kind of where it's at. But I wanted to relay those things to you about what I think is going on. There still is the plan, the larger plan that's going on here. We pray, and we can't stand any loss of life. However, and except millions, they wanted to kill billions, okay, with the pandemic. They want to kill billions with their technocracy and their transhumanist takeover and their, AI God that they're trying to create right now in the chaos. They can't really roll that out. They can't get people on board with it. And so we need to be clear in ourselves, and we need to understand that in the chaos, there is a direction moving here, okay, about freeing sovereign nations from the massive globalist cartel of the bankster elite, Cartel Babylon, as I like to call it, and their, of course, economy of sin that has been run and also been exposed in the Epstein documents for people to have this awful, just post-traumatic, definitely, but this is the growing up moment of people to understand what so many of us have understood for decades, that they profit on devastation and sin and murder and war and evil. That isn't what this is that's going on now. This is the attempt to clamp it down, to stop it. And so we're going to keep on pushing forward here. And that's where I'll leave it with the news. And I'll be back on Monday to talk more with, intricate news. I know that everybody loves getting into the details, and it is so important. And so we will on Monday. Great interview coming up next week with Mike McKibben to talk about getting back into understanding the growth of the one world government situation, the Pilgrim Society, its control over the USA, etc., and some heroes involved there. We'll get into that, but I will be back with you on Monday. Over the weekend, we need to pray, 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 be with people, and have the medium be your message to yourself, that you are inviting what's God's reality versus the digital matrix reality that's constantly put upon us, especially as we're just assaulted with the geoengineering. We know they're going to hit a lot of states up to Minnesota, creating some blizzard that's happening, trying to derail what's going on there, with so much to do with Mike Lindell and his great governor campaign run. You could say, oh, they'd never do that just to assault Mike Lindell. Yeah, they would. Yeah, they would. They have reasons for doing all they're doing, right? And when we look at the Old Dominion, shooter who was literally stabbed to death by ROTC people there in Virginia, or in Michigan with the driver, the Islamist driver into the synagogue there. It's always these deep blue states, right, where these things just happen, even though they've had practiced it, practiced live shooters, etc., there in Michigan at that synagogue. So, it's all very interesting. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there at coming on 32 minutes. I hope that you have a fantastic weekend spent with family and friends and loved ones, and that you spend tons of time in prayer, and also think about your future and how you're going to get involved in your local communities. It's so, so important. And that call to Thune or your senator for the Save America Act next week is vital. That is 202-224-3121 or 202-224-2321 for Thune Direct. And let's do it. Let's get it done. And so yeah, thanks for watching. And if you found something valuable in this video, you want to support the channel, super appreciated. There's ways to do so below, and I so thank you in advance. And of course, my fantastic sponsor, c60evo.com/YAFTV. Use the code YAFTV for 10% off. Did a great video yesterday with Patty, who is one of the co-owners of C60evo. A really great getting into the climate assault, the climate flu in Colorado, how they're just, decimating the people there. And of course, we're all praying for Tina Peters, and that amnesty comes forward from Governor Paulus in Colorado. And I'll link his number below in case you want to call him and tell him that you'd really like Tina Peters' amnesty to go forward, get her out of that prison. Because there's so much coming forward. We have Maricopa County, the grand jury subpoenas that allowed them to go in and take the goods there. We know Detroit is coming up. Philadelphia is coming up. They're getting the election steal records. It's fantastic. And we have grand juries, of course, in Florida also, with huge things coming up. So much happening. Don't be deer in the headlights. Understand that we're under there's a plan, and try to put the dots together, okay, as we describe them. Try to put them together, try to hold it together, and prayer helps so much with that. And ask for guidance. Say, can you clarify this for me, God? And God will. So c60evo.com/YAFTV. Use the code YAFTV for 10% off. If you want to clean out your mitochondria, fight the degenerative diseases that attack your cells, and cellular health is health. Okay, everything relies on it, and that's what this product does. Central nervous system disorders, all of it, the big C. Check it out, and anybody who contributes to the channel gets 15% off. So that's fantastic. New code, new link sent to you immediately through email if you can donate to the channel. So thanks so much. You are free. I will see you on Monday, and we're gonna win. Humanity is winning, everybody. You are free.